We welcome Gary Griffith as promised. He is on the Zoom line, former Commissioner of Police, to get into some of the happenings. We always thank you for the time and the perspective. Gary, great to see you as per usual.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning. We're watching the developments and many are surprised. Obviously, this involves the conviction of Anthony Michael Smith, found guilty of human trafficking. Again, this is a scenario, and this man, on the run as we speak, he was fitted with the ankle bracelet, as we call it. And my question really, are these bracelets, did it come during your tenure? Are they fit for purpose? And how does one take a bracelet off? So it's a kind of three-part question really. Did it come during your tenure, these bracelets? Are they fit for purpose, really and truly? And were you using what, baby oil? I mean, how you get a bracelet off? I am confused. I want to get some guidance this morning. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, well, good morning. Good morning to you and to your many viewers. So I'm here to clarify, not as a politician, but someone with the experience and knowledge in law enforcement, specifically in this matter, and whatever we will discuss today. So I'm not here dealing with...
Yeah, of course. And that's why I said the designation as former top cop as opposed to
thank you. Yeah. So I will say it as it is. So yes. So the comments I make, people expect that every time you're a politician, there has to be something negative about the other side. So let me clarify as it pertains to the bracelets. I actually introduced it to Trinidad and Tobago when I was prior to me being the National Security Advisor. I was doing a comprehensive package for the People's Partnership Administration of policies we intended to put in place when we get into government. So I did the immense research, I drafted it, and Kamala Prasad mentioned it constantly in the pre-election campaign in 2010 about using the bracelet. She kept putting her hand like this, but it was really for your ankle. And the research I did showed that this has been it is something that has been very effective worldwide. The issue that people are complaining about, it really and truly, we are exaggerating the point. The ankle bracelet, because again, when I did all the research, the actual company that is providing it is one of the best in the world. They provided it throughout places in the world. So it's not to say that we got a cheap piece of machinery. An ankle bracelet is something, remember, this is not something like titanium or something. You can use a bolt cutter, even a sharp pair of scissors, and you can cut off an ankle bracelet. So this is not the first time this has happened around the world. It definitely will not be the last. It happens on many occasions. So let us not be concerned like how you could just take off an ankle bracelet. It is a simple piece of machinery that can easily be removed by a bolt cutter. So the question will be asked to the public, well then what is the value of it? This is where it kicks in. First, is it that this individual, should he have been granted the opportunity to have the ankle bracelet? Because on many occasions worldwide, if someone is charged for a capital offense, be it murder, kidnapping, human trafficking, you're not going to give that person bail because of the possibility that the person can continue such a crime whilst he has on his bracelet. So the ankle bracelet is really there for situations such as reports of domestic violence, petty larceny, or whatever. So you can.
Or in the case of by me, Gary, a peeping Tom, there's a peeping Tom with ankle bracelet.
Exactly.
But let me ask you though, is there technology or is there some kind of system that could identify if indeed this ankle bracelet is being tampered with?
I
would love to know, like, because I mean, clearly it's being interfered. I know, obviously, that takes it now into a whole different legal framework there because he's in real trouble. So, can one monitor if it's being with the scissors or the bolt cutters you would have mentioned?
Yeah. So that's what I'm coming to. So there are two factors here. The concern of the person removing the bracelet, it is virtually irrelevant. That happens. It happens on many occasions, which is why in the United States they have these things called these guys, and they go and they hunt them down, bounty hunters, where they they go trying to find this person because you take out your bracelet in New York and you end up in LA. So it's not like Trinidad and Tobago. So that's why you have these bounty hunters that will go hunting these individuals for things. That's why you have a wanted list. We don't have a most wanted list. Well, he has just started the ball rolling. So the first thing, as I said, when it is that someone is found guilty of murder and it is that he can come back out to try to target the persons who may be witnesses, or kidnapping, or human trafficking, persons like that, you usually don't give a bracelet because they can easily now go back out to continue the same thing until their case comes about. So the first thing is, why was he given the opportunity to be given the bracelet in the first place? The second, has to do with, again, with the research I did, and I explained it to the People's Partnership Administration. I heard Minister Dillon given the wrong impression, because bracelets are used, such as in North America, to make sure you stay in an area of responsibility. You have an AOR, you stay in one area. But in Trinidad and Tobago, if, for example, you put on a bracelet and you're in Laventille, Beetham, Shagwana, so someplace, you can still control your gang or your block within a 5-mile radius. So it is not so much of keeping in a specific area, but something known as a breadcrumb trail, making sure that when that person has that bracelet, we can monitor everywhere you have been. So, for example, if somebody is killed at the corner of X and Y Street at 9 a.m., the bracelet can tell if that person was there. So dead man can tell tales. So that's how effective the bracelet can be. In this situation, what seems to be the problem is immediate response. So in other words, in North America and other places, you take off that bracelet, immediately there's an operational command center that picks up and triggers that the bracelet was taken off. Immediately now you will have the police officers in closest proximity to have it cordoned off. We have lost that because we have shut down the National Operations Center. That is when I drafted the National Operations Center as the Minister of National Security, was to encompass not just having the different arms of the protective services work together, having the 999 with an immediate link to an operational system on the ground, but also for this situation, because when I drafted the policy for bracelets was to ensure that when the person cuts it off, the few occasions it takes place, you can immediately trigger it. It is triggered, you can immediately pick it up and then have an operational center to have operational vehicles.
Mr. Griffith, let me just, and I'll let you continue, but as you said that there, my mind was blown, because I'm thinking now, if this is now public knowledge, if this is something that the criminal element, they get privy to this kind of information, I guess people wearing bracelets right now could cut off and just be on the move.
And it is unfortunate because, it goes back to governments and administrations. They change and you shut down and dismantle. I set up the National Operations Center for this purpose, as I said, apart from the 999 and apart from making sure that there's an immediate response. Prior to 2021, the police response to a 999 call was less than 5 minutes for most calls. That is what caused the product of opportunity to be diminished. That is what caused a few moments later that we used to hear about. It wasn't by VAPs. It was because we had a National Operations Center. As soon as you have a response, you trigger 999 call, a distress call, you had emergency response vehicles with GPS tracking, monitoring their area of responsibility. So anytime that, let's say, for example, that bracelet was taken off, what is supposed to happen is a National Operations Center immediately triggers the bracelet. You know exactly where the person took it off. You then see the police vehicles in closest proximity and you immediately lock it down. That's how we got a few moments later. But all of those things are not taking place. So it is hope that the government understands. So as much as you hear Fitzgerald Hines shouting, this is an exciting policing time and all this nonsense, that is where the operational system has failed because of government taking away policies that were there to ensure that when persons remove their bracelet, you can have an immediate response. Now what we have is a Trinidad and Tobago where someone could go by Residence nightclub, shoot someone in the head, opposite the commissioner's residence, 100 meters out from the St. James station, and 45 minutes later, the police will show up. And this is no fault of the police. This is because of poor government policies who have shut down and dismantled a National Operations Center that was designed based on the recommendation by the Commission of Inquiry into the attempted coup as to why it is that we have collapsed.
Let me ask you.
Having a coordinating system.
Let me ask you, is this egg in the face for the TTPS and by extension the judicial system?
No, not the TTPS per se. Remember, the TTPS could only be as effective as what is provided for them. So if the TTPS did not get the information because there's a breakdown in coordination between when that bracelet was taken off, if someone was monitoring it in real time, and if those individuals can now link to police vehicles in closest proximity, it is not so much the fault of the police or the judicial system. It is the fault of the state not putting a proper system to ensure immediate coordination. As soon as you use that bolt cutter to cut it, immediately it should have been triggered the same second. As soon as it is triggered, that person is supposed to immediately be monitoring the vehicles in closest proximity to lock onto that individual. That is where the deterrent lies. If the criminals know that, they will not do it because they know that as soon as you cut it off, as far as you run, they will have several police vehicles looking for you. I don't think that took place because the NOC is no longer effective, and that is what was there pre-2021.
Let me ask you really fast before we move on to the TTPS ratings. Should we scrap these bracelets? Should it
No,
be some?
not at all. Not at all. It is a very effective measure. Remember, when we have situations where our prison system, they're so overcrowded. But again, as I said, we have to go back to the bracelet is a very good bracelet. It's from one of the best companies in the world. They provide it throughout. It is not the fault of the bracelet or the company. It is the fault of the state not providing the system that the few times that people may do this, and they've done it many times around the world. And when they do this, you have to pay for it. It increases your sentence. But there's an immediate response to ensure that as soon as you take it out, that you have that operational link between when it is taken out, who sees it, and the police now having an immediate response.
Well, let me pivot now to the ratings. I know you're big on surveys. You always bring forward numbers. Well, the numbers right now, not really impressive. It leaves much to be desired as to people's perception as it pertains to the TTPS. And this survey was done by the Police Service Commission, the PSC. 71% of the population are afraid to be attacked by a stranger in the community. 77% afraid of becoming a victim of robbery or a home invasion. 73% feel unsafe in terms of leaving the door open. Gone are the days where you leave the door open for the breeze to pass through. I grew up knowing that. I grew up down Erin. We don't do that anymore. When you saw the results of this particular survey that was laid in the House of Representatives last Wednesday, your sentiments, are you surprised at all? And what can we do to turn these numbers around? But firstly, your take on the numbers.
Well, again, the unfortunate thing I'm seeing here is that the public now will target the Trans-Tobago Police Service and the officers, and it is not them to be blamed. Reason being, the reason I say that is that almost every country in the world, the police service, the police departments, the police force, they were targeted. There were people during the situation of COVID. There were reports of police abuse of power, absenteeism, police excessive force. Where so in a period like that, that is where you will expect that public confidence in the police will go down. In Trinidad and Tobago, it was the highest rating of every arm in the public sector. These are the same police officers. So before we knock the 7,000 police officers by saying the public doesn't have confidence in the police officers on the ground, these were the same police officers just 2 years ago in a period where all over the world people hated police virtually. And in this situation, up until 2018, public trust and confidence in the police was 14%, 1-4. During a period, as I said, during COVID, state of emergency, public health regulations, where police officers, again, as I said, would have been abusing persons, there would have been clashes and so forth. We did not have one situation, not one report of police abuse of power, not one police officer going absent.
But Gary, it's not about 8%, huh?
9%.
It's not about 8% public approval. It's about 8%.
But GJ, what I'm coming to, it is not the police officers. You can't have the same police officers when you had a 59% approval rating up until August 2021 in a period where people would have expected to dislike the police, and it reached up to the highest over all arms of the public sector, and now it is the lowest. So what would have caused 59% up until August 2021, and then a year later it goes down to 8%. It is not the officers, and that's my point. It has to do with the administration and the hierarchy. If you don't put systems to measure their performance, make them accountable, the product of opportunity for police officers not to do what is required will be there. And therein lies the problem. So it's not the officers. It goes right back to the Police Service Commission, the crocodile tears that they are crying. They put the police service in this position. They appointed someone who placed, of people who applied for commissioner and deputy commissioner in 2018 by international experts, she placed 22nd. She, in the media role fit, she got 4 out of 15. In the role fit itself, 3 out of 15. In the interview, 20 out of 50. The individuals of Justice Jones and then 2 Maxines, Maxine King and Maxine Atong. One is a security consultant, one is a speaker, one is an accountant. They are the ones who decided they were appointed by a president who was appointed by a prime minister. Therein lies the problem, Trinidad and Tobago.
But Gary, what do you say for those who, again, you're bringing stuff that is factual. What you're saying is not in the realm of fiction. What you're saying actually took place. But for those who might say, well, you know what, Gary Toten, and he will always try to...
I will come to that.
He will always try to identify the mishaps and the mishandling of the current administration. What do you say to those levels of criticism?
The facts are there to be seen. It's not a matter of Toten. I am bringing facts. I'm bringing data. I'm bringing empirical testing to show that there was a qualified international expert in 2018, and that they gave the ratings for an individual who placed 12th for Commissioner of Police, 52% to others who got 80 plus. And then in 2021, she got 20% less. And then a prime minister who handpicks a president, who then handpicks individuals with no knowledge, qualification, or experience in law enforcement, decide to pick an individual. So why do you think, Trinidad and Tobago, the police service had a 59% support and public confidence in 2021, and a year later it goes down to 8%? And mind you, this is 2022. In 2023, it would be even less. But it is my point is, it is not the fault of the police service. If we have asked that the police service commission are persons handpicked by someone who is handpicked by a politician, these individuals could very well decide to do a whole process. And let me tell you something, JW.
Yeah.
Even in myself, when I was appointed Commissioner of Police, I got 82%. I placed first. But the then Police Service Commission was appointed by the previous UNC administration. And they said, look, even though Gary comes first, we're going to put him fourth. And I was fourth on the merit list. So it shows that the whole system is so flawed that a police service commission can be politically compromised.
Let me ask you.
And make decisions outside of the merit list points.
Let me ask you really fast before we wrap things up. Again, going back to this whole issue of mismanagement. And again, what you're bringing is facts to the table. What's happening at the administration level for what we're seeing via HR? Because I know most times HR are the ones responsible for people's leave and vacation. And it doesn't only happen in the TTPS. I've heard of this happening in the fire service and other security arms, where people could go, or their vacation days rack up into the hundreds of days, where people could be off for a whole year. What's going on? Because I'm seeing some senior officers being told, well, you know what? You need a not mental day, a mental year. Burnout, breakdown, take some time off. Answer that for me. Vacation and the kind of long periods we see in the TTPS.
Yeah, well, again, if you have people with 30 years service and then you have not gone on leave for decades, it will pile up. It is not the best method. It is inappropriate. I think we focus and at times what happens is you buy out the person's leave because you feel like you need that individual based on their specialty. It is not the right fix. What should be the concern is that just 2 months ago, Earl Christopher put a no leave for everyone. And then 2 months later, the crime rate is even higher. So if you are at one end, how could you have shifted the goalpost 2 months later when 2 months ago you said nobody must go on any leave whatsoever because all hands need to be on deck? And then 2 months later, conveniently, certain persons, you send them on all your leave. If it is that people are suffering from burnout, you don't need to send somebody on 700 days leave. So like, come on, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with specific persons who seem that we want them out of the system. So we decided to say, well, we need leave because they're suffering from burnout. Because there are many other police officers who have just as much leave and they are not going. So this has been selectively handpicked. Well, and I think we must not try to mislead the country into believing that this was the reason. Okay. And there's a good reason for it. When I was Commissioner of Police, I looked at Earl Christopher. She's a good administrator, but she did not fit the bill towards the pace that I was going at. And she had 2 years vacation. I told her, I think you need to go on it. So, I mean, it goes that way.
Okay.
I needed to have a team that could go up that keep up to my speed.
Well, Gary, let me tell you, as always, thanks for the time. We'll get a chance, I'm sure, to touch base before the end of 2023. You have a safe one, and we will, again, we will get to meet up. And you must come on the couch at some point, man. I look forward to that. Hopefully soon, before the end of the year.
I am hoping that one day when you come running around there, you don't slip, keep watching.
No. It's good in the backyard, safe. Gary, all the best, man. We'll touch base soon.
Take care.